Okay, so this is from a viral post on Twitter from the Wall Street Playboys, and they call this the master plan. They talk about basically how to make money. One, go to the best possible college possible for cheap. Two, enter M&A, merger and acquisition banking, enterprise sales, or tech and coding. Three, spend free time generating online business sales. Four, use online business for real estate purchases. Five, use real estate income to fund other small internet purchases. Then other people chime in. Tell me World Power, our friend, says, here's a better playbook. One, buy crypto. Two, do whatever for 5 to 10 years, but don't touch your crypto. Add to it as much as possible. Three, retire, pursue life purpose from abundance. And throughout, give money thanks many times over that you live in a day and age where this is possible. I think that this is tougher because one, you have to have money to buy crypto, but anyway, my take on this, let me just double check to make sure the stream is good. Yeah, stream is good. So I've been sharing my strategy, my master plan to make money. Obviously, this is different for everybody. So sorry if we have to go through this part again. But basically, I said one, get good grades in high school. So in high school, you don't really have to be the smartest person out there. It's about skill versus will. You don't have to be the most skilled person because your SAT or ACT score, basically test taking, any form of standardized test taking is a way to measure IQ, your skill level, how quickly you learn something. But your GPA, on the other hand, measures your effort, how hardworking you are. So somebody cannot be the smartest person out there, but still be very hardworking. That's why some people have high test scores but low GPAs, and other people have high GPAs but not so high test scores. Right. So for me, I wasn't that skilled. I mean, yes, I did well on some tests, but I would say most of my success comes from hustle, from grind, because I mean, throughout high school, I was just grinding. So I would say get good grades, because if you do that, we go to step two, attend the best college you can go to on a scholarship. Because to get a scholarship, you have to have good grades. So I mentioned earlier, the way you start is the way you finish. If you start like a chump, you'll finish like a chump. If you start taking L's, you'll finish taking L's. So you have to start off on the right path, and that makes everything else easier, because if you can get through college without having any debt at all, that's the best thing to do. Step three, spend your free time learning new skills. I talked about starting a side business, whether it's building a website, applications, creating content, YouTube, podcast, blog. I mean, working as an intern, especially as a non-paid intern, because if you went to, for example, Goldman Sachs and said, here, hire me as an intern, Goldman Sachs is going to say, sure, wait in line alongside all the other 1 million interns around the world who want to intern with us. But if you found a manager at Goldman Sachs and you said, hey, I'm willing to come and work with you and just learn from you for free as a non-paid intern, do you think there's less red tape and less paperwork and less bureaucracy stuff to deal with? So he'll say, yeah, sure, why not? So I would say the best way to really get your foot in the door for doing anything is work for free. Not everybody wants to hear that, but I mean, trust me, it is the best way to get your foot in the door. Okay, and then nowadays there's so many ways to start new things. Like people can go out there and start a newsletter with Substack, and if they build up a large following, they can get paid off of that. That's one way to basically build up a skill. I would say if you're anybody who's doing a liberal arts degree in college, and first of all, I'll say not the first choice, because obviously we all know the future earning power of those degrees is pretty low. But let's say you ended up going that route. You should definitely be writing online. Doesn't matter if you're the best writer or not. I would say just write on a schedule. If you write, let's say you're an English major. If you write one post a week, let's say 1,000 words for 2 or 3 years in college, and you turn that into a blog, I don't care how bad you are, you're probably going to get some kind of following. And with the internet, you have powers economies of scale. And let's say if nobody even reads your posts, guess what? You can take those posts and put them on your resume and say here, I had this newsletter or blog, or even better, compile them into a book. You can have a book. I mean, most people who have books, nobody reads those books. But guess what? They can now call themselves authors. So there's so many things you can do to build up your skill level and really, almost in a way, pad your resume. The next thing we talked about was getting a sales job. Now, this might not fit for everybody, but I feel like you have to get a job that does not cap your earning power. So typically commission type roles. So I talked about my experience in enterprise sales, working in IBM, how I was able to switch from being a technical sales engineer for 3 years to a sales executive. I was basically an account executive covering all of North America for open source analytics. And I had a $2 million quota for 6 months that me and my team, that was for me personally, but I was working alongside a team. And I hit those quotas each half, right? Beginning of the half, the first 6 months, and the other 6 months. And I was able to quadruple my income from making about $130K as a technical sales engineer to making over $400,000. And that was something that would never have happened if I didn't believe in myself and bet on myself. Because I said, sure, I'm willing to have a lower base pay for that chance of higher upside. Because from doing my research, from talking to other people I knew, my friends, and getting their information, and when they told me they were making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, and they were my age or even younger, I said, you know what? I mean, why not? So I would say find jobs like that if you can. If you can't, then yes, maybe have this typical 9-to-5 job with a base pay and maybe do something on the side. But if you can't, if you're really trying to hit those home runs, find jobs that do not cap your pay. So with me, I worked at IBM in enterprise sales. But enterprise sales is really good because these are big companies, typically Fortune 500 companies with big checks. So, I mean, I know one of our teachers in training who worked in a team that closed a $1 billion deal. I think it was either to the federal government or some other company, but I mean, I know people in federal sales, they make bank too. Imagine if you're on a team that closes a $1 billion deal with NSA or CIA or Department of Defense, and you take 5% commission. I mean, so commission type roles are good. There are also other kinds of sales jobs, even real estate, being a real estate broker, all that stuff. But I would say in general, find jobs with upsides. I mean, you can even take a job you already have and turn that into a job with upsides. So for instance, if you're a developer, maybe you create a application, right? That's why the App Store was so big, because developers who typically had a capped pay can now create software, put that into Apple or Google's ecosystem and get paid on economies of scale, right? So basically what I'm saying is get a job that pays, that scales your pay based on demand, as opposed to having a job that just pays you a fixed amount. So I think that's definitely up there. That's step number 4. Step 5, after you graduate, continue doing the same thing. Start a side hustle or business, and also start investing on the side. So invest in stocks, in real estate, in crypto. So with me, my first investments, I began investing in stocks, did some penny stocks, took a huge L in penny stocks. I was investing in cannabis stocks before they were popular, and I got wiped out basically. I mean, I basically had to crawl back with my tail between my legs on cannabis. This was probably 2013, 2014 maybe. But guess what? Everything I learned there taught me other things to do. So the businesses I did on the side, I turned a hobby I was doing. I had a video camera, and I began working for free. Going back to everything I was talking about earlier, because I had no skill yet, but I had will. So I began filming. I began going to events, going to car shows, I had some friends in the fashion industry, so going to fashion shows, going to some pageants, and I was just filming stuff for free. And I was a willing and able body. People who wanted somebody to film their events, I would volunteer to film them for free. So did that for about, I would say 6 months or so, and really got better to to a point where I was decent. I was mediocre. But because I already had some industry experience filming this stuff, I ended up becoming one of the official videographers for pageants and fashion shows in DC. So whenever Miss DC wanted somebody to film an event, they'll call me to go there. So they took me to events like the Washington Redskins gala party by RG3. I went to some other events as well. And after a while, I had a nice portfolio. I mean, wasn't by any stretch of the means the best video editor, but I had social proof, right? It's basically a marketing term. I had videos with RG3, John Wall of the Washington Wizards, all these people, and I was good at making websites. So I put up my website, put up my showreel and stuff, and put some posts on Facebook, YouTube, on Yelp, and slowly but surely, people began reaching out to me because it doesn't matter what your skill level is, there's typically a place for you in the market because not everybody can afford a Hollywood type video editor or camera team. So, because some people want somebody on a budget. So I went from working for free to charging a very low amount. And as I got better, began scaling that up to a point where probably I'll say a year and a half into it, maybe 2 years into it. At one time, in 1 month, I made about seven grand, which at the time was a lot more money than I made at my base pay in IBM. And that's what really showed me that, hey, if you put in the time and work, you can actually make money on the side. Because I made that 7 grand from just 2 clients. Because the more I learned, the more I 80-20'd my side hustle. So the side hustle was, I had a nice website. I would do SEO and all that. Basically local SEO on Yelp, on Google pages and all that stuff. And people would just email me online, and depending on finding good fits, I would take jobs. I'll take one job each weekend was the goal. But that month I only had 2 jobs. The first job was to film a conference. It was a legal conference in DC over the course of 2 days. So me and my brother filmed that over the course of that weekend. They paid like about 4 grand. I filmed the videos, did the editing, burned them on DVD. This is back when DVD was still kind of a thing. I put them on DVD, also put them on Vimeo on demand. And that was something that they didn't really even know how to do. And they really liked that part because that was more of me being a developer and being technical. I knew that, hey, why not put this on Vimeo on demand and sell this to your customers and make money on it? So I did that. The other video was a corporate video as well. So I began doing stuff for free from fashion shows, events. I was basically an event videographer, but eventually I learned there wasn't really money in that. Once I had built up a good portfolio, I then realized that the money was in corporate videography. I mean, so my premise in life is follow the money. So when I was working at IBM and I was working as a technical sales engineer, I followed the money to sales, to becoming a sales executive, and I was able to quadruple my money. So same thing, whatever side hustle you're doing, follow the money. Yes, start doing something for free, work your way up, but if you see the money is this way, go that way. If you see the money is this way, go that way. So in video, I saw the money was in doing corporate videography because they would pay the most, they wouldn't really question your billing, and they were the best clients. Like the most expensive clients typically are the best clients because they don't really take much to maintain, surprisingly. So while the clients who paid the least typically complained the most. So as somebody who had a day job and I was doing this as a side hustle, that was the route I went. Then the other thing I did was minimize your expenses. So whatever you can, look for ways to make your money back. So I had a decent 4-bedroom place where me and my brother were staying in Maryland. But I traveled a lot for work for IBM. And my parents lived about half an hour away. So whenever I traveled, I would put my home on Airbnb. And man, I mean, Airbnb back then, that was a heck of a hustle. To a point, because my monthly rent was about $26.50. And on Airbnb, I was getting typically minimum my monthly rent. Sometimes I'd get back maybe even 2x. So I was actually getting money to a point where I would purposely travel a lot for work so that I could rent out my house and get 2x back, right? Or actually not quite 2x, more like 1x. So I'll get back my initial plus the 1x on that. So I was making minimum 2, I would say typically sometimes 3 during spring and summer season. Those were typically the most busy seasons here in DC. I would make a lot of money. So I was basically living for free. Even though I was barely home, I mean, at times I'd come back traveling from work. Then I would go to my parents' place and say, hey, I'm home. I'll be here for 2 weeks because somebody has booked my Airbnb for 2 weeks. And to me, that was great. So I was basically able to minimize my rent, because rent and mortgage is probably your largest expense. So if you cut that to 0, or if you even get paid for that, that's a good thing to do. So I would say once you have a job, start side hustles. Then also start investing. I began investing in crypto. And we all know that really changed everything. Okay, so then the next step on this master plan, leave your job once your side hustle or investments are making, I would say, 3x or more money than your day job. Now, this is different for everybody, but I would say have an exit plan. So with me, I quit my job at IBM probably earlier than most people would have, but because I was kind of different. So I quit when I had about $250,000 in crypto. And to me, I said I could live off of this for 2-3 years or so. So that was kind of the thought process. And I was also very bullish on crypto at that time, thinking it would go up. And it did end up going up, right? Obviously that was the year I ended up becoming a millionaire. But have some kind of time frame. So let's say you're making 100 grand a year on your job. And let's say your side hustle as a videographer. Actually, a better example, I think, is probably looking at your monthly pay. Let's say you make 5 grand a year. 5 grand a month at your 9-to-5 job. But your side hustle is making you 10 grand a month or 15 grand a month. Then I think you should strongly look to give up your day job and go to your side hustle full time. Now, obviously, it also depends on the long-term prospects of that side hustle, because kind of like with crypto went to the moon, then came back crashing. But if you're in a more stable field, maybe like working in real estate or in, so for example, let's say you have different rental properties. Maybe that could be a way to go, right? Maybe you have a video company or photography company. That could be a way to go. But I would say in general, minimum, just to kind of be safe, don't quit your job until you're making more money than your day job consistently. Not just like once in a blue moon. If you're consistently making money, so let's say maybe over the last 6 months, you've made more in your side hustle than your day job, then it's probably a good time to think about quitting. And I would add to this, only if it would make things more efficient, right? So maybe, like with me, I didn't start thinking about leaving, even though I had plans to leave. I didn't really pull the trigger until I began to see that not being in crypto full time was costing me more money, because I was busy taking meetings at work, and I was missing meetings with other companies to possibly invest or to trade or what have you. So once I saw that I was losing money, I said, you know what? I have to leave because this is costing me money. Not being full time in this is costing me money. So I would say for your side hustle, if it's costing you money, not being full time, and you think you can make even more money, and you've already been making more money than your day job, that's when you pull the trigger. And then the last step, be frugal. Spend less than you make. And that's something people tell you all the time, but it's really hard to remember, because when you make money, oh man, I mean, your wildest dreams come out. I mean, you start acting ignorant, you start acting bougie, you start acting brand new. I mean, I can't front. I went through that phase, and I think it's a phase that everybody who makes money goes through. But it is a phase that you end up outgrowing. So I mean, with me, I was on the world tour. I was buying a lot more than I typically did, and because typically I didn't really care much about fashion or designer. I was just, you know, shabby beard, whatever, just get the job done and make money. But once I quit my job and I was traveling the world, I had more time, more freedom. So, and I had more money as well. Because at that time, we thought crypto was going to go to the moon and beyond and would never stop going. Bitcoin was at 20,000. We were buying stuff that we should not have been buying. But obviously now I'm a lot wiser, which just comes over through experience. But I think that's definitely something everybody should do. So just to recap my master plan, let me know what you guys think. Step 1, get good grades in high school. Step 2, when you have good grades, you will get attend the best college. Attend the best college that's giving you a scholarship. The goal is to attend college with no debt. If you don't have good grades, or if you're not able to get a scholarship, then attend the best college you can. That's cheap, right? So don't if you're in America, don't go out of state. I mean, that's taking extra debt for no reason. Then 3, spend your free time learning new skills. Start a side business, intern for somebody, typically as an unpaid, because you have more leverage in terms of what opportunities you can work in. Blog, YouTube, newsletter, podcast. 4, get a job that does not cap your pay. Typically a sales job. Could be other industries like investment banking. That's also, I'd classify that as sales as well, because the reason why Wall Street makes so much money is because broker and dealers make commission on trades. So if a company comes and spends $10 billion on one trade or investment, and you're a broker dealer, I mean, the commissions on that are probably going to be huge. Or real estate, or let's say you're in business, you can work in marketing. For example, internet marketing, affiliate marketing. If you're a developer, you can build an application and an app store or ecosystem that pays you with economies of scale. So I think almost any industry, you can create something that has economies of scale that does not cap your pay. Then once you graduate, or once you're working, start a side hustle. It could be real estate. It could be taking a hobby you have and turning that into a business by beginning to work for free initially. And as you get better, scaling that up. And also invest in crypto, in stocks, and then leave your job once you're making more money than your day job consistently over time. And once you think you have maybe 2 or 3 times more money than your day job. And last but not least, be frugal. So that's my list to my master plan. Once again, this is coming from this viral tweet. I know I've been rambling a lot, but let me know what you guys think. Let's check the comments.